you get to place a tundra tile. When you place a tundra tile, you have to place it adjacent to tundra. It comes from this.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it comes from your 45. You have to place it adjacent to a tundra tile. Everything that's all species, all dominance cubes, everything it gets removed. You place the tundra down, and then you'll score a number of points for placing your tundra tile on this chart. If you are adjacent to 3 other tundra tiles when you place it, you will score 6 bonus points. Okay. Once you place it, everything goes back on to that tile, with the exception of everything beyond the first cube. So in this case, right here, this cube would come back, and this cube would come back. This would go back to the red player. Anything beyond 1 goes back. And that goes back to their gene pool, which is your supply here. Any other time during the game that it says eliminate or remove cubes, they go back in your bag. They're out of play for the rest of the game. Okay. The only time you get them back in your gene pool is through glaciation. After you have placed it, scored the points, put everybody back in place, you have to check and see if there's an element that's trapped between 3 tundra tiles. So, for example, like this, that water would be removed because it's pinched in there with nothing left for it. And you can see this has the arrows again, right? Mm-hmm. So only one person is going to be able to choose glaciation. This person. Then we move on to speciation. During the reset phase, these pawns will move 1 space forward. So only one glacier return. Okay. I think that's everything for glaciation. Yep. All right. For speciation, there is an available spot for each element type that exists. And you go left to right, so meat will be first, then sun, then seeds, then water, then grubs, then grass. So when it comes up to a person, say I chose sun, I then choose a corresponding element disc on the earth, and then I can speciate around, focusing around that element. So if I were to choose this sun here, it's adjacent to a tundra, a mountain, and a desert. So I can speciate in any one of those that I want. This little chart here on your cheat sheet, or this one here, will tell you how many is the maximum that you can place in that spot. You don't have to place all. You can place partial. But that is your limit. Wanderlust. This is a fun one. You have 3 they'll actually be face up. There'll be three stacks of tiles here, and you choose the one of your choice, and you place it out on the board. It must be connected by at least one side to the rest of the earth tiles. At which point you will score points again on this chart. If you're adjacent to 4 other tiles, you'll score 10 bonus points. Once you do that, you can also choose one of the available elements under Wanderlust and place it on any available corner of the newly placed tile. Following that, in food chain order, meaning mammals first, anybody who's adjacent to the newly placed tile can move in to that habitat. So you go mammals, then reptiles, birds, amphibians, arachnids, insects. Done, then the next person does their Wanderlust action. Migration. That number is the number of cubes that you can move on the board. When you migrate, you can move them 1 space. And 1 space only. You may not move 1 cube 7 spaces. It's 7 cubes 1 space. Okay. Anything that's wasted is wasted.
Except for birdies.
Right. Competition. Each one of the available spots is adjacent to 3 different terrain types. For example, this one is adjacent to desert, forest, and tundra. Make sense? Mm-hmm. When that action pawn becomes active, I can choose 1 desert tile, 1 tundra tile, and 1 forest tile that I occupy to remove 1 cube of my choice. When I remove it, it goes back to that player's bag, never to be seen again. Bye-bye. So there's a whole lot of competition actions that can go on.
Mm-hmm.
Once those are done, then we get to domination. Domination has a few steps to it. The first thing is, the person who chose the first domination action picks any tile on the board. That tile is scored. Scoring is on this chart right here. Depending on the terrain type, the person who has the most cubes will score the highest point value. Whoever has the second most will get the second most, and so on down the line. Any ties are broken by food chain.
Mm.
After you score all the points from that, then whoever has domination there. Domination is decided by the number of elements in that habitat that you match.
Mm.
Well, for example, I have 3, and there's 2 out here, so I have 6 matches. Each one of these matches 2 of those, so 2, 4, 6.
Mm.
So I have 6 matches. I have dominance there. I scored that area. Everybody gets their points that's there. Yeah?
You also have to have one of your species cubes in there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you can't have a cone there unless you have species.
Species, right.
Whoever has the dominance cone then chooses any one of the 5 available cards and enacts it.
Okay.
These things vary wildly. Some of them will be good for you. Some of them will screw people over. Some of them will help multiple people. And it's the same set of cards all the time. We will go through all of them.
Okay.
All right? All of the actions that we've gone through are optional, with a couple of minor exceptions. If you place here, you can say, nah, I don't want to. You don't have to. There are a couple of things that will happen regardless.
I thought you could use a player could pass on any of the things he selected. It's just that some of those boxes will happen even if players don't select
There's
them.
one exception to that.
Okay.
If you are on one of those boxes, as Ron said, you can choose to not follow through with the action. By placing your pawn there, you can block somebody else from having that option. That's perfectly acceptable. There are a few things that will happen regardless of whether or not people place there, and I can't seem to find it for some reason.
Well, I
There's
mean,
regression. This section always affects all animals with matching added elements, so regression will always happen.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if somebody saves themselves from the pain or not. Wasteland, this section always affects all tundra tiles with matching elements, so that's always going to happen as well. Speciation is always going to happen as long as the insects are in the game.